7. The number of perfection. BTS is 7, and many believe that 7 is the perfect number and also God's favorite number. In the Bible, God created everything in 6 days and rested on the seventh day, as it is stated on Genesis 2, verse 2 to 3. The seventh day was made holy and the day of rest and worship. 7 is also in the book of Revelation. 7 churches represent the universal church. 7 seals, which is in Revelation 6, unleash judgment on the earth. 7 trumpets, Revelation 8 to 11, announce the greater judgment. 7 bowls of wrath, 7 spirits of God, 7 lampstands. In prophecy, 7 represents the fullness of God's plan. Jesus also used 7 to teach forgiveness and grace. He said in Matthew 18:22 to forgive 70 times, 7 times. And in the Old Testament, Leviticus 14:7, sins could be atoned for after 7 days. 7 is also in God's covenants and oaths. Noah's covenant, 7 pairs of clean animals on the ark, Genesis 7:2. Abraham's covenant, 7 lambs offered in a treaty, Genesis 21:28 to 31. Joshua's conquest of Jericho, 7 priests, 7 trumpets, 7 days. 7 is often linked to God's promises and faithfulness. 7 is also being used in blessings and curses. Leviticus 26:18 to 28. If Israel disobeyed, God would punish them 7 times over. There's Proverbs 16:16 to 19 lists 7 things God hates: pride, lying, murder, and others. Psalms 12:6, God's words are pure, refined 7 times. Jesus also performed miracles involving 7. He fed 4,000 people with 7 loaves of bread, cast out 7 demons from Mary Magdalene, spoke 7 last words from the cross. 7 seems to be the perfect number in the Bible, and 7 is a perfect number in Bora land. Jungkook as Elijah. The music video takes liberty in combining different events or elements in the Bible into one scene. Jungkook's storyline is an example of that. He references Elijah. Israel had turned to idol worship, following King Ahab and Queen Jezebel, who promoted the worship of a false god. Elijah didn't like that, so he challenged 450 prophets of Baal to a test. Both sides built an altar and called on their god. Baal's prophet failed, but God answered Elijah by sending fire from heaven, proving Yahweh was the true God, and this is on 1 Kings 18:38. Elijah then commanded that all the false prophets be killed. Queen Jezebel was furious, and when she heard about it, she swore to kill Elijah within 24 hours. Fearing for his life, Elijah ran into the wilderness, and after traveling a day into the wilderness, Elijah collapsed under a tree, exhausted, and he prayed to God to take his life. He fell asleep, but an angel appeared, provided food and water, and told him to continue his journey. And who was the angel? Jungkook. That explains why he is the only one who was wearing casual or modern clothing in the entire music video. He wasn't one of them. He was an angel sent to wake up Elijah and tell him to go on his journey. This also allowed Jungkook to have a different look in ego. After the angel, Jungkook, appeared in his dream, Jungkook opened his eyes and continued his journey to Mount Sinai, where he confided to God that he felt like a failure, because even after what he did, Israelites were still turning to idols. Get that? They were turning to false idols. And this is where we go to the dance break. God told Elijah to stand on the mountain because his presence would pass by. Then Elijah witnessed several great things, a powerful wind, but God was not in the wind. There was a great earthquake, but God was not in the earthquake either. And there was a consuming fire, but God was not in the fire. All of these elements we can actually see coming in while they were doing the dance break. But it was a gentle whisper. a very, very small voice that allowed Elijah to feel and see God. God then commanded Elijah to go back the way he came, to return to his mission because he wasn't done. On Kinetic Manifesto Come Prima. On had a dance performance version, the On Kinetic Manifesto Come Prima. Come prima is an Italian musical term that means like before or as at first. This is consistent with God's command to Elijah, go back to the way you came, or do as at first. Come prima. And BTS as 7. In the end, Jungkook appeared with Jin, RM, Suga, J-Hope, Jimin, and V. They're all wearing a red robe. And this is in reference to God revealing to Elijah that he's actually not alone. There are others who can help him with his mission. This moment symbolized a transfiguration of some sort. Elijah's journey was not just about himself or the now, but about preparing the next generation. This mirrors the journey that BTS took in chapter 2. It was about facing new challenges, facing the next chapter of their life. The doves. Doves were used in several scenes in the music video, primarily by Jin. He saw a dead dove and later on set a dove free. In the Old Testament, Leviticus 5:7-10, in ancient Israel, doves and pigeons were sacrificed as atonement for sins. If a person was too poor to afford a lamb, they could just offer 2 doves, one as a sin offering and one as a burnt offering. Later, when Jin set it free, it was a reference to Genesis 8:12. Noah set the dove free 3 times after the flood. The first time, it found no place to rest and returned. The second time, it brought back an olive leaf, signaling the earth was recovering. And the third time, it did not return, meaning it had found land and a new beginning. Jesus on the cross. These initial shots shown him lying down but positioned like Jesus Christ when he was nailed on the cross. 2 arms spread, legs together, pillowing a log. The log Jesus Christ carried on his way to Mount Sinai. V, being Jesus, is actually consistent with the story of the blind man. In John 9, verse 1-3, when Jesus was walking with his disciples, he saw a blind man from birth. His disciples asked, "Rabbi, who sinned, this man or his parents, that he was born blind?" Neither this man nor his parents sinned, but this happened so that the works of God might be displayed in him. People assumed his blindness was a curse or a punishment, but Jesus rejected that idea and instead used his healing as a sign of divine purpose. In the MV, V saw the blindfolded child. He removed the blindfold and the child started seeing. This means that not every misfortunes that we are experiencing is necessarily a punishment. It could just be circumstances. And if we choose to, we can remove the barriers that's keeping us from our destiny. Interlude shadow. V's initial position also mirrors the position that Suga was in during the comeback trailer. The concept of this is also biblical. The blood on the doors references the blood used to paint the doorposts and top beams of the houses of Israelites. The families were to stay inside the house while the plague passed over Egypt. The blood marks the house as belonging to God, protecting them. And this is why Suga seemed protected in the interlude MV. There were many hands trying to reach him, people trying to get to him, but somehow he's always out of reach. Jimin as King Saul. 1 Samuel 15 told the story of the first king of Israel, King Saul. But he had disobeyed God, leading God to reject him as king. God's spirit left Saul, and a distressing spirit tormented him. Some scholars believe it was a demonic force, and others say it was depression, anxiety, or paranoia, possibly due to guilt and fear of losing his kingdom. This explains why Jimin was dancing aimlessly, with more abandon than grace. Saul's servant suggested that music might help soothe his torment. One of Saul's servants recommended David, who played the harp. David played the harp, and whenever the distressing spirit tormented Saul, the music would calm him, and the spirit would leave him. In the music video, after the kid played the drum, Jimin appeared calmer. The wall of Jericho, Joshua 6:20. When the trumpet sounded, the army shouted, and the sound of the trumpet, the wall collapsed. So everyone charged straight in, and they took the city. In the music video, Jungkook sounded the conch shell, just as the wall opens, just like when the trumpet was sounded when the wall of Jericho collapsed. Jericho is located near the Jordan River. It is often called the City of Palms due to the lush oasis, fertile land, and fresh water from nearby springs. This is exactly what we saw in the MB when the wall opened. Because of its location on important trade routes, it was wealthy and a powerful city. But it's a heavily guarded city with its thick, impenetrable walls. God commanded Joshua to march around the city once per day for 6 days. Seven priests, that seven again, should carry seven trumpets of rams in front of the Ark of the Covenant. God said that on the seventh day, they should march around 7 times, then blow the trumpets and shout loudly. The walls would collapse, and the Israelites could take the city. And that is what we saw when Jungkook sounded the conch shell. Aram as Noah. Aram's reference was clear given that Noah's Ark is one of the most popular stories from the Bible. He was standing in front of an ark and animals behind it. God asked Noah to get 2 pairs of every kind of unclean animals and 7 pairs of every clean animal. Again, that's seven. And after, guess what? 7 days, God himself shut the door of the ark, and that is in Genesis 7:16. Suga as Aaron. Moses has a speech impediment and was not confident in his ability to speak. Aaron was chosen to be Moses' speaker. God also appointed Aaron as the first high priest, and that explains why Suga was standing in the middle of a church-like place. In the Bible, Aaron made a grave error. While waiting for Moses to come back from Sinai, the Israelites became impatient and asked Aaron to make a god for them. Aaron collected their gold and made a golden calf. When Moses returned, he destroyed the calf and rebuked Aaron. However, in the end, God still confirmed Aaron as the true high priest. It's just that Aaron never got to the promised land. Now, let's listen to some of the interesting discussions that I had when I did this during the live stream. I just want to repeat, it doesn't mean that I think RM has been pretty clear that he's an atheist, right? He's said that many times, and I think he continues to say it, that he's an atheist. So obviously, the mere fact that it is the Bible doesn't affect the decision he made to do the music video. It takes appreciation of the arts to actually understand it, right? There's a lot of great stories in there, so it's a great piece of literature to read. In the same breath, I read a lot of Buddha stuff because I think it's helpful. I read the Quran because I think because it helps me to know what is their teaching. I don't like misunderstanding people. I don't like misunderstanding religion and faith. I certainly do not like judging other people based on what other people are saying. So I would rather read it because I know I want to understand other people's faith. So I read it. Does it mean I'm a Muslim? No, I just like reading. So in the same way, we need to get rid, and I think that's one, and that's an important lesson that we need to learn from BTS. They themselves don't judge, so we shouldn't, and they themselves don't discriminate, so we shouldn't, right? um Unlike some Christians, many other spiritual or religious people do not demand exclusivity. Yeah, and then I think, yes, I agree. And then a lot of other religions also demand exclusivity, but there are religions who don't demand exclusivity. I think Buddhism, for example, is very tolerant of other religions. Buddha himself never said that he is God. So as Muslim, I appreciate that. Sure. I mean, I think I've mentioned this before, that one of the very best friends that I had here in the US is actually a Muslim. And A lot of people are shocked when I say this. Like, I have a mother and I help raise a child, but I trust him so much that I would put the life of my mom and my niece on his hand because I trust him that much. And that kind of understanding won't happen and if I did not try to understand his faith, right? So the more you understand of other people's faith, the more you understand the person, then the easier it is for you to get rid of all the stereotypes that you hear. So when people tell you this, Christians are bad or Muslims are bad or Buddhists are bad or Hindus, d- study yourself. You have to study for you to learn. There are levels to atheism. Thank you. I was about to point that to. I believe there is truth in all religions. Judaism, Christianity, and Islam have a lot in common. It's all the same God. And in the same breath, yeah. So yes, you actually said it. Yes. So there's a lot of you will be surprised with the commonalities between religions once you try to understand everything. At the end of the day, it's all about believing in something more powerful and bigger than you are and believing in other and loving other people as much as you can. That I think that's one thing that I've learned that all religions have in common. That's actually the teaching. You do need to believe in something more powerful than you are and bigger than you are, and that you need to love other people as much as you can. Buddhism is not a religion, yes, as I said that. And Buddha himself does not claim to be God. Those rocks in the video are the Vasquez Rocks north of LA and have been in many shows and movies, especially Star Trek. I hiked them as a kid. Faith and love. Yes, lots of Christian rituals and things come from paganism. True. But I think it's the same whenever somebody tells me about like, oh, why do you even bother when this came from like the origin is evil, for example, the origin is evil. I do believe in evolution. So I can't hold myself to what happened in the past forever. So for example, um the swastika is an example, the one that the symbol that was found in that people saw RM wearing on his uniform. If I just stick to, I know that it's a traumatic symbol for a lot of people, but then I cannot not respect the Hindus for their belief, right? So I can't pin myself on a single event that happened. Have you read Mahabharata and Ramayana? Not yet. I do. My friend who's a Hindu actually gave me a reference, like a something to read about it. But I'm not that. It's big. It's long. Not big. It's long. Super long. He just doesn't believe it because it's hard to believe in something that you cannot see or is tangible, and that doesn't make him evil. He is a good person, definitely. I don't think we are in the right position to judge anybody. I'm pretty sure we shouldn't be judging other people, um, regardless of the religion that you believe in. Um, the God in that religion, I'm sure, reserves the right for judgment to himself, right? So I'm a Baptist and we aren't religious. Intention means a lot. It was maybe RM is religious now since he's working in the army as a chaplain. No, I don't know. But I mean, I have no idea. RM wore that on his lapel. Yeah, I believe that when you're in the army, you have a religious, not a religious, I guess, yeah, you can call it a religious, you have a religious job. Like there's a certain part of your work that is actually on religion. And the majority of South Koreans are actually Buddhists, or a lot of South Koreans are actually Buddhists. People need media literacy. I don't believe that you can still make analogies to life with the stories and come to your own conclusions. But you can still make analogies to life. Well, definitely, yes. Definitely reading and studying. But you have to do it yourself. You can't rely on what you see on social media. Remember that social media is designed to give you what you want to hear or read. So then you develop a bias instead of actually being able to study both things. That's why, like, if you're a liberal, your tendency, if you're on social media, you will lean more liberal because the algorithm is going to continuously feed you with liberal stuff. In the same way, if you're a conservative, the social media and online will continue feeding you with conservative stuff. So then you become more. When I think right thing to do is that if you're a liberal, they give you conservative. If you're a conservative, they give you liberal. Then somewhere in the middle is the truth. No one has the right to judge. RM volunteers at the temple. That is why the patch. It doesn't mean he's leading people in a religion. True. And he consulted a monk before he enlisted, remember. But then, as I've said, Buddhism is not a religion. RM went to speak to monk in a temple. Oh, yeah, that's what I said in the military. And he now wears a Buddhist chaplain patch on his uniform. Night, everyone. Congrats to those who got tickets. Good night, Ophelia. Did I miss the meaning of darkness after Jungkook blows the horn thing? Um, so it's connected to the Joshua Jericho wall, the wall that broke down. So the horn was sound. They blew the horn, and then the wall broke down, and that was the sequence in the music video, and that's the sequence in the story in the Bible. We just need to be respectful of each other's beliefs. Good night. Thank you. RM has an insight that is ancient Buddhist based symbol, but is often misrepresented as a symbol appropriated by the Nazi. Yeah, yeah. Okay, me, I'm going to keep repeating this. Buddhism is not a religion, and you don't have to believe in God to be a Buddhist. Yes, Buddhism is not a religion. Buddha himself does not claim to be a god. We can all choose. It's healthy to be able to appreciate our differences and still love and respect each other. I just want to tell the story because I do have a friend who's a Hindu. He is from India. She is from India, sorry. She's a girl. And so I was asking her about um I was asking her about so his story. And then so I told her the truth. I told her the truth that in the Philippines we were told it is mythology and not real story. Like it's not, it didn't happen. Like it was just a mythology. And so I told her that because we were close enough. So I told her. I said, in our country we were taught that this is a mythology, not something real. And then it took her a while we were texting to text back, and she said, okay. She said, I'm calm now, and the reason I didn't text you back was that she felt so angry hearing what I said, that it was being taught as a mythology rather than a story of faith. And she said, but I understand that you're trying to educate yourself, and that's why you're asking me. She said that, but I was just upset, and I just wanted to be upfront with you about it. And she said, I'm not upset with you. I appreciate that you told me. So I think that was it was a breakthrough in our communication, right? Because that was a point when we both understood each other. She understood that because of how I was brought up and the education that I had, I will get a lot of things wrong. I will always get a lot of things wrong. And if she allows her emotions to get the best of her, then she will not be able to educate me. Then I won't understand her. But in the same breath, if I wasn't honest to her, if I was just nervous that I was going to offend her or whatever, then I won't learn and I will not be able to understand her. So it was great that she understood it, that she understood that there is this reaction, like emotional reaction from her, but she had the presence of mind to know that, okay, she means well. She means well. And it's not her fault that she got the wrong education. So now that we are connected, we can talk, we can communicate so that we can better understand each other. Now, did she try to convert me to Hinduism? No. She just wanted me to understand her. So I think that's what we just need to understand with each other. We just need to know that um because somebody says something wrong, it doesn't mean that they want to hurt you. It's just that how they just that's what they think was the right thing. So okay, the Dalai Lama says Buddhism is a religion, but we do not believe in a creator god. CC said. Han said, thank you, Fairy Lane. Good night. Good night. The world needs more of this level of understanding. It is very rare. It is very rare. I have to tell you, it is very rare. As you know, my goal is to highlight the creative depth of BTS's work, their music videos, and all the other works that they have published. And so I'll keep on doing that. I hope that you support it. I really want the world to understand that they have long ago transcended K-pop. They have actually transcended pop. And that there is so much more in their artistry that must be appreciated. So please give this a thumbs up, share it because that's really helping my channel. Subscribe to the channel as well and hit that notification button so that you know whenever we publish a new video. Also, we do have a Patreon community. It's a vibrant community and we discuss a lot of things, not just BTS, movies, TV, shows, even unpopular opinions. For as long as you say it respectfully, you're welcome there. Also follow me on X and on Instagram. See you there.